From 1904 to 1910, the premier racing event in America was the Vanderbilt Cup. Man and machine roared along the roads of Long Island in spectacular and often dangerous fashion. As we begin our journey, let's first look at the namesake and driving force behind these races, William K. Vanderbilt II.
Our Willie K. Vanderbilt was the great-grandson of Cornelius, the man who started the Vanderbilt fortune with the Staten Island Ferry. He expanded his fortune with shipping and railroads.
People don't realize War played a major role in Grand Central Station. So they really have a lot to offer. This magnificent estate has so much to offer. Why we think it's important, it's culture. And I know this is a very tight economy, but we feel that you have to hold on to your history.
Most New Yorkers know Grand Central Station, people from around the world, and that was owned by the Vanderbilt family.
There's always the stereotypical image of the idle rich sitting poolside playing tennis, but Willie K wasn't like that. He had some distinct passions that he followed.
Our Willie was a man of adventure. He loved speed, he loved travel, he loved new technology. So when the automobile started to be popular, he was one of the first people to own a car, to race cars.
And he was a pretty successful racer in his own right.
He was. He didn't, again, just sit back. He was in the thick of things. He raced not only cars but yachts. He won the Lipton Cup in 1900. In 1901 and 1903, he won races in the United States. And in 1904, a record he was very proud of, he had a speed record in Daytona Beach.
And who was the record holder before him?
Henry Ford.
The Henry Ford.
The Henry Ford, yes.
Well, 1904 proved momentous for another occasion as well. On January 8th, Willie K met with the American Automobile Association, a meeting that would change the outcome of American racing for the rest of the decade. I'm here at the turntable garage of the Suffolk County Vanderbilt Museum, and I'm joined by Guy Frost. Guy, Willie K just had a meeting with the American Automobile Association in which he proposed a radical idea that's never been done on U.S. soil before. What was that?
It was the first race for the Vanderbilt Cup.
The Vanderbilt Cup, a silver trophy embellished with the image of Vanderbilt's greatest racing moment, a prize that lured the best racers from near and far.
The first question I have is, how did he decide upon the course?
Well, he decided upon the course simply by driving around himself. I mean, he still enjoyed his European cars at speed. And eventually, he found a 30-mile circuit, which he thought to himself, if we do 10 laps of this, that's 300 miles.
But how do you think he swayed local government to get the use of the roads?
I think he had to talk people into doing things that might be exciting.
I'm sure the promise of the local boon to the economy as well.
Well, I'm sure that's true too, with your fingers crossed. I mean, you never know at that point whether anybody's going to show up or not.
But any fears they had were quickly put to rest. Thousands of spectators would flock to Nassau County in the days before the race, filling every hotel and roadhouse. The county was on board. The people proved a different matter.
Well, of course, racing never was and never has been popular with the locals.
While many farmers protested the closing of the roads for the race, other residents went farther, filing an injunction with the Supreme Court to stop the race, claiming they were of no economic value to Nassau County.
The railroad brought 100,000 spectators to Nassau County for this event, I think the very first year, and it only grew after that. So you can understand that, in a way, this put Nassau County on the map.
After hearing from both sides, the court refused to intervene. Vanderbilt had his race, and with that final roadblock cleared, the stage was set for history in the making. at 55 Lumber Road Garage in Roslyn, and I'm happy to be joined by Howard Kroplik, author, historian, and proud owner of living history of the Vanderbilt Cup Races. And Howard, today I want to talk about the cars that actually ran these races. You can't have a race without a car.
Right.
And today we are going to look at, what are we going to look at today?
We're looking at the 1909 Alco Black Beast race.
This is the racer.
This is the racer. This is the car that won the Vanderbilt Cup races in 1909 and 1910. And it's a historic car. It's one of the only Vanderbilt Cup race cars that is on the road today.
Let's take a look at some of the differences between then and now. And the first thing I notice is there's two seats.
There's two seats. It took two people to drive this car. It was the driver and the mechanician. The mechanician was the navigator. It also was very responsible for pumping the fuel.
What were some of the dangers that the driver, the mechanician faced when they drove?
Well, the biggest problem was the car turning over. You can see in this car there's no seat belts, and they felt it was safer to be thrown from the car. So you really didn't want to get pinned underneath this car. And again, stopping was always a bit of a challenge.
Well, Howard, we've talked about the cars, but we need a race. It's a 30-mile track. How do you know who wins?
These were time trials, so they would leave on 1 minute to 2 minute intervals, and it was really which car can complete 10 laps at a time.
Now, there's a phrase that they use in racing today that I think stemmed from the Vanderbilt races, and that's pit stop.
Yes. One of the first pits ever was in the Vanderbilt Cup races. That was in the 1908 race.
These are actual pits?
They were actually pits, and the servicemen were underneath the ground there, and they would service the cars.
I guess also the time-honored tradition of the winner crossing the finish line.
Yes, the first use of a checkered flag was in the 1906 Vanderbilt Cup race.
With grandstand seating at a premium, the crowds filled every available space, jamming themselves to the edges of the course. It was a recipe for disaster.
This is the first auto races they've ever seen in their lives, and invariably the crowds would go onto the course to view the cars. And unfortunately in 1906, one spectator went in the middle of Jericho Turnpike and got hit by a car and was killed.
Well, the future of the Vanderbilt Cup race is in question. Good thing Vanderbilt already had the answer.